We're not going to worry about that today. We got plenty of water back there for y'all. We got Brother Polite, and I even got some entertainment. This young man, his name is Streets, Admiral Streets. He's somebody who has fought his way to be where he is right now, and he just wanted to share a little song with you. So here's Admiral Streets, straight from North Philly. How y'all doing? Alright, I got a little something coffee. Coming through, brother? Can't hear? A lot? Alright, there you go. I got you. I say the game knocked off when your right hand man or take the stand, say him and get you life in the can. The game knocked off when the person you love will come and kill you for a couple dollars over some drugs. The game knocked off because everybody just snitching. From hustlers to players. Everybody just... The game knocked off when you're supposed to be squad or talk, but when them shots fired, won't even ride. The game knocked off when you're supposed to be girl running behind your back, giving all your enemies twirl. The game knocked off when a chick give you that injure, HIV, that ain't the house in Virginia. The game knocked off because we supposed to be fam, but every time I cowball you be shorting me grams. The game knocked off when people leave you out to dry, but as soon as you get wet, you the shit, and they the flies. It's knocked off a person told on you was downfall. It's knocked off when your sister is the town hall. It's knocked off when nobody respects you. Your manhood constantly challenged, you getting stepped to. It's knocked off when your man won't pull it. He had beef, bought you in it, he ran, you caught the bullet. The game knocked off, main reason respect. These young dudes will make you kill them, try and get them in check. The game knocked off because loyalty past tense, a bunch of backbiting dudes. It don't make no damn sense. The game knocked off when your man smashing your wife, then the hood put you on and the truth coming to light. The game knocked off when your own flesh and blood for $1 treat you like peanut and when get you rubbed. It's knocked off because everybody want to be the chief. It's knocked off, they only hustle for a pair of sneaks. It's knocked off because of crooked politicians, like how they still give life to O.J. Simpson. It's knocked off, we ain't got the right to bear arms, and most of the times it's the cops that be dead wrong. It's knocked off, these rappers is misleading us, the youngins eating it up. What is this game feeding us? It's knocked off, all this gay stuff in cartoons. It's knocked off, 2012 said we all doomed. It's knocked off, they ain't even free Mumia yet. It's knocked off that we still slaves and can't see it yet. It's knocked off, the government got their own order. So much power is scary, quoting Barry Goldwater. It's knocked off, Malcolm X said by any means the enemy took heed, killed Tim and Dr. King. It's knocked off, Black History got the shortest month. It's knocked off, your prayers do nothing more than front. It's knocked off, this nation is ran by the bank. Obama said he can, but the truth is, he really can't. It's knocked off, NWO is in effect. It's knocked off, the people don't know who to elect. It's knocked off, the only ones with any intellect is misleading the people for self-gain and bigger checks. It's knocked off, I had to get killed just for saying this. It's knocked off, they'll pull you over for playing this. And I don't give a, and that's why I'm relaying this. I fear the law, these politicians are Satanists. Now promote his album Street Fighter 2 that he does not put in the stores. He goes out and he walks these streets, and instead of hustling anything else, he's selling his CDs because he knows that he can make it out here. And just for the record, he went out for his first fashion show, and they just told him today that he's going to be walking on the runway. So, you know what I mean? We got a lot of respect for him around here. And now for your feature presentation. I'd like to welcome this young man. They call him the Phenom. They call him a lot of other stuff too. I like to say the young man with 75 books, because can't nobody top that yet. So here we go, Brother Polite back in Philly.
everybody doing?
All right.
Can you hear me back there?
Yes.
Alright, I'm going to make sure I try to project it as much as possible. I'd like to thank y'all all for coming out first and foremost. I know it's a hot day, but we got to do whatever it is we have to do to convene to get this information. So I really appreciate it, because it looks like a tribe, man. It looks like a real tribe. And that's a warm embrace. We came all the way from Florida. We just came in this morning from Florida. I had a class out in Tampa Bay, Florida. And we drove. We drive everywhere. So we drove from here to New Jersey and from Jersey into Philly to come to class. So we really ain't getting no sleep. By the time we came, we had to start organizing to get this thing going. So I've been traveling around state to state, literally, since the year started. You name the state, I've probably been there. And just going around trying to build for our people to expand the consciousness, because there's a lot of times we have the lecture forum pretty much set up in New York City, and sometimes Atlanta, but there's a lot of brothers and sisters in several other states that no one ever really takes the time out to interface with them. So they just subject to what they see on YouTube, and you know we play the fool on YouTube and disrespect each other more than we uplift each other. We play the fool on Facebook more than we uplift each other. So that works like a form of the same indoctrination that the media gave to us, where we'll have a biased perception of ourselves and a limited perception of ourselves. Then in addition to that, when we do become espoused to other brothers and sisters teaching, it's the practical nature of the teaching that throws us off as well, because we need practical information, you know, information that can actually be applied. So it's been my highest endeavor since the start of this year to see to it that first and foremost, anytime I come anywhere, that the information can not only be motivational but also can be applicable. Now many of us have heard we need our own schools, we need our own land, we need our own homes, we need our own banks. Many of us have heard this information, and we all agree when the citations get made about what the problems are, we can all confide in those citations and say, yes, I feel the same way. The issue at hand is that we are dealing with a new age necromancy in our community. The new age necromancy, which is to worship the dead, to confide in dead spirits, is that we're undermining the living talents that are before us today as a means to support our elders or former leaders, rather than uplift everybody and respect and honor the living that's putting it down. So what I mean by that is, today somebody will be putting in a great deal of work for the community, and rather than work with that person, it's a subtle approach of undermining the living by acknowledging the dead, not because you support the accolades of the people that pass, but because you don't want to work in an effort with someone that's alive. That's what's going on. I deal with it a lot, being a younger brother. Oftentimes people ask me, how come you don't quote Amos Wilson? Or how come you're not quoting Dr. York? How come you're not quoting Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? How come you're not quoting Dr. Khalid Muhammad? You know, and those are all leaders that I love and embrace. In fact, those are more or less my favorite leaders, right? And between them being incarcerated, or have passed already, or Dr. Ben, or John Henry Clark, or Sheikh Anti Diop, they say, how come you write these books? I don't really see you quoting none of these people. And I say I don't have a point of reference based on what it is that I'm talking about. And people say I'm being arrogant. And I'm trying to explain to my brothers and sisters, I embrace those brothers for everything that they do good. I don't agree with Khalid Muhammad with everything, but I still have him as one of the best black leaders to ever stand the stage and grace us with his information. He's one of my favorite leaders because of his ability to articulate and his warrior nature while being able to articulate himself without making the whole community look a fool. I embrace him. I don't confide in other things, but I don't need to talk about what I don't confide in. That's my ideology. We should walk with our brothers and sisters for everything we agree on and put the other stuff to the side. We don't have to come out publicly criticizing our brothers and sisters for the things we don't agree on. So I love them, and a lot of people don't believe that because I don't confide in the white man's the devil and all this other stuff. I don't confide in it, but I understand it was necessary during the time our brothers and sisters were out here freedom fighting. We in 2012. And we couldn't possibly conceive that we're going to use 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s ideologies to free us in 2012. So when I talk about the law, people say, what about Drew Ali? Noble Drew Ali didn't practice UCC. He didn't use that. Noble Drew Ali said this. Noble Drew Ali said that. And I'm always trying to tell my brothers and sisters, listen, Noble Drew Ali didn't live in 2012. He didn't even live in 2000. Things change. We can't take the whole entire doctrine that someone put down and use it 40, 50, 60, and 70 years later. It's just not sensible. But that's not saying that we should undermine what he brought to us. Should take it and add on to it and evolve. They say times change, but people don't. And that's the problem. People are not changing while time is changing. Okay, so we've been taking on a street ball approach to our oppression. And that's the problem. How many of you play basketball? You know what it is to play ball in the street, right? There's no referees, right? Some people call too much. People like myself, I choose not to call. It makes me better. So I don't call foul, I just keep moving. Now when you play street ball, you don't exactly call timeout and start designing plays. You wing it. Sometimes somebody chucking. Sometimes somebody feel I should just keep passing the ball. But you wing it. And whatever happens in the end, happens in the end. Sometimes you develop a chemistry with your friends and it works out. But when you play professional basketball, they review tapes and they have defensive analysis. And they say, you know what? LeBron James is having a problem scoring a shot on the left side of the rim 18 feet and further. So they say we're going to put him over there. Because when he's inside of 15 feet, he's almost impossible to stop. And they may say if he gets inside of 10 feet on the right-hand side, he's 90%. But if we can push him beyond 10 feet on the right-hand side and force him to shoot, he goes down to 30, 40%. They review the tapes. They watch. He has a problem with people that are 6 feet and over. He has no problem with people 6 feet and under. Or under 6 feet, pardon me. They review the tapes and they come up with a defensive strategy to see to it that his 30 points a game is reduced to 15 points. Once he's reduced to 15 points, he now has offensive strategies, okay, that he has to confide in because people are hired to study these things. And then they'll tell him, listen, this is what they did to you last game. We're going to throw you some screens. We're going to throw a person right in the way of the person defending you so you can roll out and get a free shot right where you're 90%. So now his 15 points that he's been reduced to, and like the fact he used to average 30, now comes back up to 25 points. So we say, okay, the strategy is working. And this thing goes on back and forth in the middle of games and from one game to the next. The black community has been playing street ball in terms of our oppression. We are not watching the tapes. We got to start watching the tapes. We are playing street ball. From the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to 2000, 2010, it's been kill the cracker. No new defensive strategy. And we sure they ain't killing nobody. That's a fact. We're not killing nobody. We keep getting killed by now. That strategy should have been employed. So for one thing, we're calling on a strategy we're not going to employ in the first place. And for a second thing, we are not changing the format in which we engage in our liberation. And this is what's killing us today as a people. We're not playing pro ball, we're playing street ball. So when we need effective plans of action. Effective plans of action. And when commerce changes, we have to make an adjustment in the way we approach our liberation. The dynamics of society changes, we have to make an adjustment. When laws change, we have to make an adjustment. We can't sit here and think we could blindly live in society for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years and use a stratagem that probably was more effective 60 years ago than it is today. And that's the biggest problem because we've become lazy. And lazy people don't like to sit down and go through critical analysis. We don't want to review the tapes. See, there was a point in time when the afro was a popular hairstyle. And they saw that we were mobilizing. And we had the Black Panther Party and other organizations that really was putting us together. So they reviewed the tapes and they said, these black people here, they got the momentum. They got quite a bit of momentum. So you know what they did? They came up with a defensive strategy. And they said, we got to give these brothers and sisters some opportunity. That's going to be our strategy. Opportunity. What we're going to do, we're going to make some of these people actually be on TV. Minus the big white lips, the humongous butt, the huge bodies. What we're going to do, we're going to take the time out. And we're going to give these brothers and sisters the opportunity to be on TV at midst of their liberation movement that is very effective. And hopefully this will serve as a big enough distraction that they'll forget all about their freedom. They watch the tapes. They say, I see where this is going. We know about ancient Egypt. We know about the Moors in Spain. We know about the Moors here in America. We see where this is going. We know your potential. More than you know your own. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to take the time out and we're going to give you some media attention. So you can feel like things are changing. We want you to feel like things are changing. So you can stop fighting. So white man and his advocacy, being black, Chinese, and Hindu, because it's not just them, puts us on TV. But all you gotta do, old girl, is stretch your hair out. It looks too exciting. Make your hair relax. Bring it down. So your hair gets straight. You get a nice movie deal. Now the young brothers and sisters aspire to be just like you. You on TV. One day I want to be on TV now. So somebody comes over here and says, yo, it's about the struggle. Yo, we almost out of it. Look, we about to have our own land. Some says, yo, I ain't got no time for that, man. I'm trying to get my daughter into the next commercial, man. That's what I'm trying to do. Look at her cheeks, man. She can get right there on TV, and we be out of this in no time. So here it is. We had a good thing going. We had a very good thing going for us. And we were distracted because they reviewed the tapes and they study us. So they know our ego. And they say, you know what? We got something for their ego. They want to be seen. Because the liberation movement started being commercialized a little bit. They said, we know what to do with that. And boom, they diffused the potentiality of the movement. Now, we start coming into knowledge of self again. Primarily because a host of black Muslim groups, to be honest. Alright? There's some black Christian groups and the likes, but primarily because of black Muslim groups at that time. And what happens is, this hip-hop thing starts. So you got the Ansarullah community with Dr. Yo, you got the Nation of the Gods and Earths, the 5% is doing their thing. Everybody's inspiring people to engage in knowledge of self. It's translated and captured in the art form in their music as they're talking about the conditions that they're living in and the likes. So the music started uplifting us. Late 80s, early 90s, we started seeing a change. Why? Because the president said, I see where they're going again. They're about to do it again. These guys are about to take off all over again. So they reviewed the tapes. They see our momentum. They say, you know what? We got to pull out the old ego card again. We're going to have to create some contracts and make them a star. So after all the conscious lyrics and everybody rapping about knowledge of self and inspired, in turn, they said, look, we need you to do the stinky leg. And we need you to rap about chicken noodle soup with soda on the side. Your people about to be out of oppression. But it's going to take another 3 to 4 years. But y'all got the momentum. Or we can get you out of oppression and your people can stay in that. So they said we just need a good 100 of you to go out there and ride some spinners. Look at me now, I'm making paper. We need a group of you guys to get together and make our young brothers and sisters and elders aspire to rap and propagate our message of selling drugs in your own community, prostituting your own women, and in no time, many of us, they took the poorest of our kind out of the community because they are playing professional basketball, if you understand the analogy. They're not playing street ball with us. They're playing professional basketball and they're reviewing the tapes. And they see that from 15 feet beyond, we don't play that good. But when we get close, 10 feet in, we can have our freedom. So they say we got to push them back. But instead of feet, it's years. We got to push them back another 5, 10 years. We got to make them, by the time 2012 comes, we got to make them catch back up to the momentum they already had. So we get the record deals, and in no time, our brothers and sisters now, you can't tell them. about their freedom of liberation. And now not only do they believe they're going to get on TV, they also want to be the rappers. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a rapper, but we understand the terms and conditions in which many of us would get signed if we were to become successful in their genre of music. We understand how we must compromise ourselves in order to engage in that music and entertainment industry. So what I'm saying is, we are playing street ball and they're playing professional basketball. So I say, we got to start respecting our oppressor. And people say, I'm not respecting this goddamn white man. And I say, yo, listen, it sounds cool what you're saying, but I'm coming from it from a logical perspective. When you respect your opponent, you train. When you respect your opponent's talents, you work out. You review the tapes. You try to understand the psychology behind it. You see if you can have somebody have sex with LeBron's moms or something. You try to throw his whole brain. You try to do whatever you can do to win that game. You start telling them, look, we're going to break your little group up if y'all don't win this championship. You put the pressure on. When your oppressor respects you, and that's the thing we haven't understood yet. Don't think that your oppressor does not respect you. Your oppressor respects you quite a bit because he wouldn't dare allow you to have your own education. He wouldn't dare allow you to have your own land. He wouldn't dare allow you to have your own houses. He wouldn't dare allow you to have your own language. Because any one of those exponents will automatically incur the stress of you having the other's gratitude. They respect us so much, they'll make sure every 3 months they will exploit. Brothers and sisters get shot by police all the time. But they make sure quarterly they give us a report in the media that we got gunned down to instill some kind of fear so we can get distracted. So here it is, we got momentum in the black conscious movement. But Trayvon Martin gets killed. So look, let's go out there and patronize the oppressor and buy a bunch of hoodies. You see, this is the focal point. When you don't have a real game plan, you don't have an agenda. The best thing we came up with is let's put some money in this white man's pocket in light of the fact that our brother died to make a statement. Who made a bigger statement? The guy selling the hoodies. Because he's bound to take that money, turn it over, and fund some more guns into the community so this thing can happen again amongst us and amongst our oppressor. We need an effective plan of action. I love all the leaders before me, and I openly embrace them. There's 2 seats in the front for the people that's standing up. You can come to the front and take a seat. Yeah. I openly implore that our brothers and sisters understand that we should give great homage to the brothers and the sisters that have freedom fought for us, and to the elders that are still freedom fighting. But sometimes the younger generation is going to come up with something completely different and contrasting. There's a certain element of a lack of fear that we have because of a lack of experience. And sometimes a lack of experience is the best thing we got going for. Sometimes ignorance is your best protection. So by virtue of my young age, I'm granted the gift of ignorance in combination with a great deal of knowledge. And people say, yo, ignorance is your gift? Yes, because I haven't been hosed down. I haven't been bit by no dog. I know what was. I was Prince Superior in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Brownsville, one of the worst places you could grow up in Brooklyn. And I was Prince Superior. So, I don't know about all that. All I know, I'm G'd up and I can't be beat. I was locked down, I did time. That's what I know. So we're a little more fearless. I'm more fearless in my mind. So the elders try to convince me, look, this white man gonna do this, that, and 30. Don't you try to get that house, this white man gonna take it. I'm ignorant. I'm like, let him try to take it. I'm ignorant like that. Yo, listen, you don't understand. Once you start organizing, you gotta be careful, brother, because they don't come in. I'm like, man, you victimized and you stigmatized. I ain't got that fear in me, man. I don't have that fear in me. And I'm not about to try to have it embedded in my psychology either. I don't think I can be beat. And I feel if it was 10 of us making a strong impact, by the time they diffuse what we doing as a group of 10, it would already infected the rest of the black nation and motivated them to do more. That's the level that we have to be on. So if we can somehow get the elders and the youth to work together, that'd be a powerful dynamic. But whoever don't ride out, we just gotta let the dead bury the dead. But with all of this, you gotta quote this person, and you gotta quote that person, and you gotta quote this person. All those other teachers didn't say something as relevant as what I'm saying today. I'm not undermining them, but you show me one leader that in light of them making a bunch of money, taught other people how to make money as well. In fact, most of them died broke. People say, you shouldn't say that. Most of them are in nursing homes right now. Most of them have lost their house. And as I said, many of them suffer the consequence of dying in poverty. Now, all over YouTube and Facebook, people say, this brother's getting at Dr. Ben. This brother's trying to get at Phil Valentine. This brother's working against his teacher, Dr. York. This brother's against Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And I know what punks do. When punks can't beat you, they try to rile other people up and tell them about you. But that's what punks do. You beat somebody in sports. My uncle can beat you though. My nephew can beat you though. That's what we do. When you feel you can't beat a person or step to them, you try to rile everybody else up. I'm not going to keep saying I respect everybody and I love them. I'm saying give the credit where it's due. Dr. York wrote 400 plus books. He took us to Jezreel Abra, upstate New York, had property. He owned both sides of the street, Bushwick, Brooklyn. Had his own movie theater, laundromat, bookstores, and the likes. School, 8 block stretch, both sides of the street. Even when we went down to Georgia, 476 acres of land, 404 Shadydale Road, Eatonton, Georgia. Out of the 400 books, how much real estate books did we get? None. I'm not mad at him, and people think I'm going against him. He taught what his forte or his potential or his gift was. He showcased his talents, and he did a great deal for us. In fact, I'm mad that we can't separate ourselves from religion and say, look, that brother implemented something a lot of us didn't get to, a land and language. 35,000 people show up on the land and the language. Instead of saying, oh, we built pyramids 10,000 years ago, the brother dead built them themselves. I'm like, he's the flyest Egyptologist to me in my book. You don't even have access to the pyramids you say we built. Them Arabs, if you ain't got the money, they ain't gonna let you see what your ancestors built. So when he built that, I said, man, Dr. York is real talk. Well, what I'm saying is, I don't have to quote him every 5 minutes because he's the reason why I'm conscious. I don't have to credit him for everything that I do because he's the reason that I got conscious. Because out those 400 plus books, I didn't see one real estate book. He had the land, he granted us the opportunity, but I ain't get none of those books. When he gets locked up, we still don't know how to get no land or no house. How can we perpetuate what he did? We're going to have to learn real estate at some point or the other. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had farms, over 50 schools in America. Had his own import and export with fish. Had his own steakhouses. How many members of the Nation of Islam do you know understand how to erect their own food business, how to buy land? You understand what I'm saying? We were lost. We messed with the Yaqub information. That's what we dealing with all the time, breaking that down. How many people understood the real estate savvy that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had? We left that alone. We went straight for the religion. And with that, we can't do nothing with it when it meets its expiration date. It uplifts us up into a certain point where you got to go back home to your wife and she's like, yo, are we going to always stay in these projects being righteous? There's a point where we got to really take this into consideration. We buck dance around the money part of the information for way too long. Every time you start talking about money, people get wary. Oh, you can't take that to heaven with you. I know I can't take the house to heaven with me, but I'm leaving children on planet Earth. Should I leave them without a house? It would be nice if they don't have to engage in a $300,000 mortgage. Because that'd be one less problem they had, one less burden or one less stress that they would have on their head. We have to start effectively planning in terms of our future. We talked about everything in our culture. We talked about the ancient Egyptians. We talked about the pyramids they built. We talked about the rituals, but we never talked about the real estate. Who bought the pyramids? Who funded the pyramid operation? Someone paid for that. What was the real estate like in ancient Egypt? We talk about the infrastructure, but we don't talk about ancient Egyptian real estate. We keep buck dancing. We want the ritual. And then we want to know why we're having problems on physical planet Earth. We're trying to be spiritual, which is a testament that we have lost our spirit. Religion is for people people that need a spiritual revival. Some of us are already spiritual. There's a distinction or dichotomy amongst spirituality and religion. Some of us are religious and some of us are spiritual. Religious people don't understand spiritual people, and spiritual people don't get along with religious people. This is the war we're dealing with in our community. In New Covenant, we say we're spiritual people engaging on a physical experience. Physical people embarking upon a physical experience. That's what we're dealing with. Our opposition represents physical people trying to engage in a spiritual experience. So in turn, they're jealous of the people that are already spiritually sound. We have a problem with poverty because we're spiritual. We're not physical people. It's something we have to learn. And we have to be motivated by our spirit to be able to navigate on the physical plane. Some of us don't have to be told, don't commit adultery. Some of us don't have to be told, you shouldn't kill another brother or sister. Some of us don't have to be told, don't steal. Some of us have our spirit, we're in sound mind and we're in sound body. We don't really have the time over here to study that which we already are. When I open up today, I'm going to engage in some religious perspectives, but not for a long period, not enough to even let somebody get distracted. But enough to show forth and prove we're spiritual people. We're not a religious people. Religion is a fabrication of spirituality. For people who don't understand what spirituality is, they find themselves in religion. And there's nothing wrong with religion. But it don't suffice for us to be religious for a whole lifetime. Religion is the school of thought that should help you elevate and bring you to another plateau of learning. That in turn, once you have that intuitive will, you are engaging in the spirit reality, the reality that the spirit exists by way of your success. That's what this whole thing is about. They have us afraid to make money. That's spirituality. One day, you dreaming about making $10,000, $20,000 and doing something real positive with it. Maybe you say, I want $20,000 so I can afford to go to school and become a teacher. 5 years later, you become a teacher because you made that $10,000 or $20,000. That's spirituality. That's materialization. You had a preconceived notion in mind, and you materialize your thoughts. One day, you're actually living in it. That's spirituality at its greatest. And money is a medium on planet Earth that helps you get to that point of materialization. It's not the money that I'm trying to get people in tune with. It's the potential that you have that I'm trying to get people in tune with. We have the potential to get out of these situations. So that's why we call it, can roses grow out of concrete? Times are hard, but success doesn't have to be. Because you can submit all over planet Earth, but you still see the plants crack through the pavement. That's what happens when you are a force of nature. When you are not a force of nature and somebody cement over you, you cannot crack through the pavement. When you accept oppression, that's what's going to happen to you. Many of us talk about 2012 and we say, man, 2012 is going to be fly. Crackheads just going to get conscious overnight. They're going to be evaluating sigma arithmetic. We got a lot of crazy thoughts about 2012. But one thing that's real is that man will meet his consciousness. Woman will meet her consciousness. We have to be careful about the things that we accept and embed into our psychology. Meaning we're at a point in our evolution that you can merely think of somebody and they show up. You can think of something or someone and the phone ring and it corresponds with that thought. You can be walking down the block and say, oh man, I was just thinking about you. You can be singing a song in your head and hear somebody else singing it aloud. We're at that point in our evolution. So if someone teaches you that you can't succeed because a white man is going to stop you every time you try to get started, if you accept that reality, you're going to be confined to that reality. If you embrace the concept of you being oppressed, you will have to be oppressed. That's how powerful the mind is. If you accept oppression, you will be oppressed. If you don't accept oppression, you can't be oppressed. Can't nobody oppress me. I can't walk around here feeling oppressed no more. I don't feel it no more. Man, you don't understand what we living in? Heaven is wherever I go. If two Africans, an African man and an African woman, copulate, and that woman becomes what they call pregnant, or she's conceiving, and that couple goes to China. When that couple goes to China, and that African woman gives birth to a child, is that child African or Chinese? If an African couple, straight from Africa, goes to China, and if people smiling too, if that child is born in China by two people that are definitely from Africa, is that child Chinese or is that child African? We sure? The child is African, right? Don't fall for the technology. The child is definitely African, right? So, where's Africa? If a group of Africans were kidnapped and taken to China, but they're still producing babies, is China China or is China Africa? Think about it. Okay, let's think about it. A Frenchman is from where? A Chinese person is from where? Right? So an African is from where? An African is from where? So if a group of Africans were snatched up and brought to China, and they keep making babies, in terms of that group or that nation, wherever they reside, is Africa wherever African people are? Africa is wherever African people say we gotta go back to Africa. I'm not ready here. Africa is wherever I go. So it stands to reason, but we get attached to land and not the people. We undermine the people and go for the land. Oh man, we gotta go back to Africa. You're gonna be in for a surprise. You go back to Africa. They got a whiter Jesus than our white Jesus. His hair is extra blonde and his eyes are baby blue. They real deep into that. Africa is almost Europe in some places. America is full of Africans. You may not like the term, but I'm using it for the sake of context. America is full of Africans. So it stands to reason that we are in Africa. And even the so-called Africans come to America, which is the new Africa. And now you got the Africans of today coming to Africa, and the Africans of before already in Africa, or America. So we are God's children. And God's abode is heaven. And we as children, if we once were from that abode, if we are truly spiritual people, if we're spiritual first before we're religious, then we come from God's heaven. So when you come to planet Earth, we're going to use that same African analogy. If I'm from heaven, because I'm God's child, then when I come down to planet Earth, where is heaven? Heaven is wherever the heavenly hosts are. I am heaven, and heaven is where I go. Now, if I don't want heaven, I have to become less than myself. But if I'm in my heaven state of mind, I'm in my God state of mind, then heaven is wherever I go. I'm not oppressed. It's an illusion. It's a fictitious play of illusions conjured up by lower emotions. Heaven is wherever we go. And when we get into that state of mind, we'll be free, and that's the biggest part of the struggle. Thinking that you locked down is the biggest part. So I know for years we was taught that, but now this is a different paradigm. I'm from heaven. I'm a spiritual being. I don't die and wait to go to heaven. I create heaven wherever I go. What makes heaven is the people. What makes Africa is the people. We figured that out. Because children still become African. If I take the soil from Africa and put it on China, it's still China. If I take the people from Africa and bring them to China, they make babies, the child is African. So it's predicated upon the principle of the people, not the land. Wherever you come from is where you are. So we are God's heavenly hosts. Everywhere we go is heaven until we become less than ourselves. We have accepted a mentality that is less than the likes of the angelic hosts. We've accepted a lower status. We are not redefining who and what we are. We're accepting other people's definition. So much so that Judaism, a religion, and homosexuality a sexual preference has actually become a race. And we get to establish ourselves as one. Homosexuality has become a race. And Judaism a religion. You call Jews as if they are a race when that's a religion. Those white folks who are trying to make a distinction amongst their other white folks. Don't give them that credit. As the election prior, where I did my DNA test and so forth and proved that I have Cohen DNA. That's the DNA that only the high priest, ancient Hebrew tribes have. I'm born in America, so they say. And my pops will tell you every day of the week, I was born in Brookdale Hospital in Brooklyn, but my blood says 75% of me is from Nigeria. How that happen? I come from generations of people born in America. Then they find their way in Barbados and Panama. But my blood says 75% of me is from Nigeria, from the Igbo tribe. And I have Cohen DNA, the high priest blood. So, it stands to reason I have the right, based on Judaic law, to run up in the synagogue to Satan where a bunch of white folk are hanging out and saying, look, come over that Torah, man. You need to bow down. Take a DNA test. Because according to you and your people that gave me the DNA test, y'all confirmed that I have the high priest's DNA. Only people with the Kohen gene can lead the congregation. Only people with the Kohen gene can bring in the Day of Atonement. And if you mess up, you get killed. If they find out that you are not the high priest and you're over there trying to lead the Day of Atonement, you die. You get killed. So that means a lot of people should be getting murdered in those synagogues because they are not the high priest. They are not taking no DNA tests. They're not seeing if they're qualified by blood to do that which they do. So DNA don't lie, and I guarantee if any of y'all do a DNA test, you'll find, despite where you think you're born, you'll find out where you're actually from. And then I always say, eat the foods that correspond with where you're from. Learn the deities that correspond with where you're from. Sometimes some religions don't sit tight with you because by blood you're not linked to it. You can try to pray to Asar or Set all you want. But you need to go back to your grandmother and great-grandmother first before you can go that deep. We got to connect with our family. So I said at the beginning of all of this, I give a great deal of homage, love, respect, and esteem for all our previous leaderships. But we must understand, new information has to come in at a certain time. We can't stay stuck in old religions, old lessons that are not relevant to 2012. Times change and the people are not because they're stuck in religion. Spirituality always makes accommodations for change. Religion doesn't make accommodations for change. You have to stay the same way all the time and following the practice and the principles of your predecessors. Spirituality says, when things start changing, I start changing too. That's the law of spirituality. I conform to change. So we see there's a contrast among spirituality and religion. I'm not condemning people who worship anybody they choose to worship. I'm saying don't get so locked in to 2,000 years, 10,000 years, or 6,000 years that when somebody comes with new and relevant and practical information. Like I said, we heard we need land, we need schools. The black people have to do this, the black people have to do that. We hear the philosophy and the psychology behind why we are messed up. But do we ever get the step-by-step process from the people who teach about the citations where we go wrong? Personally, I'm tired of hearing about how effed up I am. I don't want to watch another DVD with someone breaking down how effed up I am. For 3 hours? I'm like, yo, I could go in the hood and see that. I can look in the mirror and see where I go wrong. I don't need nobody that I'm going to pay to hear to tell me how wrong I am for 4 or 5 hours. I need some step-by-step resolve. And that's the grace of being a younger brother. You grow impatient. So you sit there and you're like, I ain't hearing how to get no money or something, man. Yeah, I gotta get out of here. Don't most of us drop out of school first, the brothers? We be frustrated like hell. Women got more patience. Brothers, I gotta get out and do something, man. They said we going to school and get money, we ain't made no money yet. We drop out. She's like, I'm gonna get it in the future when I get the degree. You're like, I gotta get that joint now. I gotta get it now. But at the end of the day, we're still funding our oppression. We gotta find a way to do things without funding our oppression. I want you to join my black community, but I'm not gonna show you how to make money. So this means that you're gonna have to continue working for white people, and after you pay your bills, you're gonna partition a small part of what you have left and contribute it to your black community. Who wins at the end? I gotta keep the black people of the black nation working for white people in order to fund the black nation. That means if we evolve once, they evolve 10 times in the process. At some point, we gotta say the black nation has to find a way to employ their own people. If Walmart and Target can employ 100,000 black people, why are we still calling them the devil? What about the black people that can read your palm, read your hands, read the stars, tell you the future, but they can't show you how to make no money? Those people are your devils. But every time it comes to the money part, the hardest situation we dealing with today, now all of a sudden we don't got the powers. I can tell you your wife is not good for you. I can tell you who you was in a past life. But I can't fix your money situation. You know, astrologers hate my guts. They hate me in the black community. Because I'm like, you know everything except for how I can make some money. And that's the biggest problem right now. Why don't you cheat? Why are you broke and you reading hands and palms? You don't even have a wife. And you telling me my wife ain't good for me. And let me guess, she good for you. This has to change. We should be frustrated. We should be frustrated. So the Moors got a bunch of paperwork. They hate me too. I say, look, if it was working, everybody would join you by now. I'm not crazy. If y'all was freeing people from cases, at least even the traffic infractions, y'all still having problems with traffic infractions. If y'all had such a good success rate, everybody would have joined you by now because we overwhelmed with summons and things of that nature. So I bring it up and say, look, if I got a situation and you've been doing this for 10, 15 years, how come you don't have a template where I can just throw my name on it? How come you treat me like I'm the first case? You've been doing this for 15 years. You mean to tell me I'm the first DMV traffic infraction? You mean to tell me I'm the first summons? This is the first time you came across this after 10, 15 years of this? What am I waiting for? See, when you ask intelligent questions, you don't really get intelligent answers when people hustle. The only reason I ask these questions is because I'm younger, and I'm frustrated, and I have children. And I don't want my children subject to the same conditions I'm subject to. Because if one generation make the sacrifice, the next generation can flourish. If we understand what debt wealth is, where you can't acquire anything in this capitalistic society unless you accept or embrace debt. The only way you can diffuse debt wealth is through asset wealth or inherited wealth. If your children are born into the family business, born into the family household, you understand what I'm saying? They don't have to deal with the struggle of mortgages. They don't have to deal with the struggle of trying to find a job, to stay in school. They don't have to even deal with go to their school to get a job if that's the philosophy. Inherited wealth diffuses a lot of the problems that we have today. Most of our problems are incurred because nothing was left here. We worship the ancient Egyptians. Why? They left pyramids. Most of us can't worship our mother and fathers. Why? Keep it real. They ain't leave us nothing. That's why ancestral acknowledgement is dead in the black community. Black people stop leaving other black people assets. If your father left you $200,000 from an insurance policy, you would be worshiping him. If someone even gave you the idea of worship, oh, my father was great. While you drive that drop, my father was a great man. Don't say nothing about that black man. But if they left you with syndromes from alcohol or smoking, like, man, that nigga's sick. I don't mess with that nigga. And that's our mentality when we talk about our parents. They're niggas to us. And some of us love them. But we know honestly there's no legacy they left for us. And the children have problems respecting people that don't leave your legacy. They say Jay-Z and 50 Cent are devils. Cool. But At some point, conscious people got to be able to show they nice car. You may not be into a nice car. Maybe you're into a nice house. Show your nice house. You may not be into a nice house. Show your gold and silver. You might not be into gold and silver, but don't act like you're just going to be spiritual or nothing. Don't do that. You got no choice but to be spiritual. You ain't got nothing. Don't do that. We got to get to a certain stage in our mind where we're not afraid to hide. You got to burn your desires out, but the only way you can truly find out who and what you are spiritually is to acquire assets in the first place. If you don't get the money to act a fool, you don't know if you're really a fool. You got to get the money first. When you get the money, then you find out who and what you are mentally, because the temptation is greater. You can't keep running away from materials. Materials are not a bad thing. Being materialistic is a bad thing. You have the right. If we learned anything from our ancestors, we learned that they was living it up. There was empresses, there were kings. They had no problem. We learned when we got into relationships, we brought dowry. We made sure we came into the relationship with something. They kept people responsible. So I knew if I engage in a relationship with a sister, I know if we part, I'm giving up part of my real estate. That makes me more responsible. That makes her aspire for a higher criteria for a man. She needed a man that's on point, successful, and already has something working. I as a man would say, look, I'm not willing to just lose houses and land every time something don't work out. I want to make sure I deal with the right woman the first time around. That system keeps us responsible, but that's what happens when you have a culture. And culture is precipitated by common customs. When we have certain rites and passage that we go through that signifies our evolution. That's what we have to get back into. We have to have a culture again. We have to have a system in place, which we do in New Covenant. We marry ourselves. I'm saying, when I ask about the astrologers and everything, I say, so tell me the future. How the hell are we going to get out this situation? Give us the cheat code so we can get out. Show me how to make some money so I can just free some people up with their problems. There's no answer at that point. So I say, then use BSing. So I go to Morris and say, yo, I hear you. I'm a grand sheikh and I'm a mufti and all this other stuff. I'm a diplomat. I got the plates. I'm driving around. But I'm still living in the hood. So I say, what is this paperwork going to do for me? What does the paperwork do for me? After I get a nice fancy title and y'all print out this paperwork and somebody sign it and I mail it out of the state and it come right back, what can I use it for? That's a sensible answer. I deserve a sensible answer for a sensible question, because I may not be in a good position to come over some $600, $700, $800 just to have a title on paper that you created. I got the right to ask that question. When we use or we confirm and do a status correction in New Covenant, we use it for real estate and tax benefits. In fact, I came from Florida yesterday. I came in this morning driving. My man got lucky to do the flight. I'm driving because I got to carry everything because I'm always on the road. And I got a big family. My brother Rashid, you stand up? He just came the first. I was in Florida for 3 weeks. I invited the brothers and sisters from New Covenant to come out and get their properties. Property worth over $150,000, right or wrong?
That's right.
How much money did you put up, if you don't mind?
$2 grand.
$2 grand. $2 grand. $150,000 fair market value for the property. He was one of many people that I called out for the first week of July and the second week of July to come out to Florida, either buy land, houses, or timeshares, to come out to Florida and use the paperwork that identifies us as sovereign. Because you see, when you're a king, there's supposed to be some accommodations for you as a sovereign woman or a sovereign man. Sovereign men and sovereign women, kings, are not subjected to the same commercial constraints as the citizen. When we correct our status, we have a monetary reason why, and we have a social and political reason why. We just don't keep it political. We just don't keep it social. So we can walk around with the ego and say, yeah, I have this paperwork now. You know, the cops stopped me. I'm gonna let them know who and what I am. No, it's deeper than that. If you're sovereign, you're supposed to own something. How you gonna be sovereign paying mortgages over here, running from student loans and debt, and saying you're sorry. When we get the paperwork done, and he's one of the people that came out there and happened to be in class. You know, it's real. Just came from Florida yesterday, in class today, in Philly. Just got his property about 2-3 days ago. And got a 1-week stay up there. Oh, just about, most people got a 1-week stay. He stayed out for about 3 days in Florida. But I provided a 1-week stay. And was the place nice? You stayed out one more time?
Yeah, for sure. The place is fly. Palm trees, jacuzzi, all that.
Palm trees.
All 9 works.
Killing them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Some people say, man, all he doing is talking about money. I'm a king, man. I ain't supposed to be poor. I'm not a poor righteous teacher. We don't believe in that doctrine. I'm too old for that. And I understand people are going to make the poor symbolic or something and the righteous symbolic or something to protect their lessons. Let them. But this thing with poor, poverty, and spirituality, they don't mix. I'm rich in spirit. Nigga, you fronting, man. Get your stuff together. Stop fronting. Stop accepting poverty. When we stop accepting it, things will change. Our children don't deserve poverty. We was blessed with this beautiful and this punctuated DNA. We were blessed with the best bodies. We are blessed with the best eyes. So if we are blessed with the best eyes on planet Earth, why should our eyes behold poverty? Why should we not behold the best things that life has to offer? If we are blessed with the best nose and the best lungs, why should we breathe in the filthy air of the city? Why can't we breathe in the best air that planet Earth has to offer us in the best places? Why should we accept poverty? We shouldn't accept it no more. We should be frustrated with it, mad at it, and not reluctant to engage in higher forms of success. If you still work a job, do not tell me that you're not interested in making more money. That's just insane. I'm waiting for the dollar to fall. You watch, Polite. You keep telling people about retirement plans and everything. When that dollar falls, we see where you at. I've been told the dollar was going to fall 15 years ago. And that's the reason why it took me so long to get where I'm at now. Listening to conscious people scare me about 2012, scare me about Y2K, scare me about Illuminati, scare me about FEMA trucks, scare me about plastic caskets, scare me about when Obama gets in, scare me about the NDAA pass, scare me about bills that were passed under the Bush administration, and still nothing has happened in the capacity that people gave us the impression. So we sit here and we lay in wait for society to fall. Who do you think is spreading that information for us to anticipate the fall of society? Who do you think is giving that to us? Come on now, ain't nothing fell yet. So now the dollar's gonna fall. Ask these brothers and sisters that think the dollar's gonna fall, what day does it fall? So I can spend my last money. What day? They don't have a definite date. Ask your brothers and sisters waiting for Jesus. What day will he come? I watched my grandmother's mother die waiting for Jesus. I watched my grandmother die waiting for Jesus, and I watched my grandmother's daughter die waiting for Jesus. That's 3 generations. I'm in my 20s. I'm not gonna be here waiting and dying for Jesus. He come, good luck. I'll appreciate him when he comes, but I know most of us gonna attack him anyway. Because when the prophets come, they demand you to be accountable for your actions. And lazy people don't like being held accountable for their actions. Lazy people kill people that tell them or remind them about their responsibilities. We just want to simply wait. But you got to prepare yourself mentally before you can even have a savior. For anyone to save you, you got to save yourself. Then real recognize real. You can't sit here waiting for someone to save you and you in a distracted, perturbed state of mind and thinking. You're going to destroy anybody that comes for your betterment. Because anybody that comes for your betterment is going to put work in. People talking about the Anunnaki going to come. They waiting outside the permanents. Why are you waiting for them if you think those are your parents? Do you deserve an ass whipping or do you deserve grace? You deserve an ass whipping. You let this devil rule over you. I'm not in a rush for nobody to come down here. That's my spiritual parents that made us and genetically made modifications and made us superior than everybody. We like that doctrine. But if that's really our family, they should whip our behinds. If God or gods come down here for their children, it should only be for our ass whipping because we got ourselves too deep into this. They should beat us down. I say, hold on, let it be pending so a few of us can get it together so you can say at least there's a group of them that started getting their mind right. A group of them that no longer accept poverty. A group of them that are not so afraid of their oppressor that the slightest inclination towards them actually having, oh, you know, he gonna come and he gonna take that land from you though. You know this beast don't play. Once he see you start doing your thing. So I'm like, what's the purpose of living then? So we gotta go into this today. You can hit the light for the front. Okay. So we cut that light for the front. Yeah, so I always ask, show me the leader that calls people out and say, yo, come on, you want some land, you want some houses? Use that information I'm teaching you for months and come out here and get it. Do you know the power of buying something without a mortgage? You know it's mortgage, means death, engaged, means pledge or agreement, and agreement until you die because you're going to be paying until you dead. Fixed rate mortgage is 30 years. You cut out the middleman when you buy property with no mortgage for $1,500, $2,000, $3,000. It's not a pyramid scheme. Oh, he running a pyramid scheme. What pyramid scheme makes you correct your status, be duly identified, and after reaffirming your character with no attempted expatriations and following the UCC 1 and then following UCC 3 and doing 5 sections? What kind of pyramid scheme make you go through that kind of critical work? And following the miscellaneous index, and if not rebutted inside of 30 days, it stands firm. What, I mean, people are just crazy. We're afraid of success. That's what happened. We've been oppressed for so long and accepted. We're afraid of success. Second, someone tell you can have, oh no, someone gonna take it. Oh no, I don't trust it. This brother over there, he up to something. We gotta take it to the next level. Okay, so our community is New Covenant. Like I said, I'm not knocking nobody. I just ask. Every generation knew poverty was our problem. Every generation knew that poverty was our problem. Every generation taught us everything except for how the hell to get out of poverty. It's true. We know we needed land. You know we needed land. You know we needed houses. After you leave class, you got to go to a house on some kind of land. If you don't own the land, you don't own the house. If you think you own the house, they probably call your owner verbally, but on paperwork, there's a merchant staple or staples merchant. You're a borrower on paper, but they tell you you're a homeowner verbally. We gotta be truly free. Here's why you worried about money? Because when you get the right amount of money, you get back your spirituality. It compromises your ability to engage in spiritual practice if you work in double overtime. You make a lot, you put your head down, you so damn tired from working, you don't get back up till it's time to work again. We have to stop running from the money thing. I'm not telling you get money to be materialistic and have your mind materially engrossed. I'm saying we need the money so you can get back to have time to read, time to study, time to introspect, time to pray, time to meditate, but you're so busy paying your phone bill, paying your mortgage, paying your student loan, paying your credit card, paying your utility. You're so busy paying these things all of the time that you're distracted and your mind is on what all the time? Physical things. You got so much bills, your mind is always on physical things. And you're a spiritual being. So they're trying to calcify your pineal gland. They're trying to calcify your whole spiritual essence. We can't spend our life contemplating on physical things. We'll die and we'll be attached to the physical world. So the catch-22 is you got to make the money to become spiritual. People say, what kind of weird sermon is that? You have to make the money to thrust yourself into spirituality. That's the system of today. And that's where we locked in, because they know we have a fear of money. But religion taught us that money is evil. People do evil shit. Money don't do nothing. It's people. Guns don't just shoot people. People use guns. People talk about money like they got smacked in the face by it or something. It's people that do negative things. If your spirit and your heart and your mind is right, you can engage in a certain level of freedom and spirituality and also help others come into it. So today, The theme is, can roses grow out of concrete? Times are hard, but success doesn't have to be. Our situation as a people may not look good, but the possibilities are endless. Come for a step-by-step plan of action to free our people. We need educational reform, health reform, agricultural reform, and overall socio-economic reform. We can change our lives individually, and as a community, come hear the young voice of truth. So let's go to the next one. So I just wanted to talk about these three tomes, not to undermine these three scriptures. You have the Torah, you have the Bible, and you have the Quran. I'm not telling no one to shy from it or run away from it. But our people have to understand something again. Those books do not teach you about real estate. And you keep saying, why you keep talking about real estate? Because the number one reason why people are getting in prison is because the free labor that prisoners produce, especially in privatized prisons, their labor represents mortgage-backed securities. As an end result of their bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond that they signed, they consolidate those three debts, which means you're being sued when you go to court. The fact that you even have a bond, because bond is a debt obligation, is a commercial claim. And an indictment is what you call a bill of exchange. It's all crimes are commercial. So in light of this reality, people that go to prison represent the unpaid mortgages of people. Because the Corrections Corporation of America is the surety that says to the investment bank, in the event that someone doesn't pay their mortgage, we'll take the free labor of the prisoners and allocate those funds to the failed mortgage. So it's a direct correlation between prisoners and foreclosures. The more foreclosures we have, the more prisoners we have. If you want to stop that, you own the property. Giving them more money than the principal for a debt obligation, the property is $80,000 and you like to go into a $240,000 mortgage. You like to pay the mortgage, you're likely to pay for the property 2 or 3 times when you buy it. It makes more sense to just buy the property for a couple thousand or $1,500 and not have to pay no mortgage for the rest of your life, so you can have your freedom. We all know most of us want houses to live in, if not just for ourselves, to have a more than conducive environment for us to raise our children. If we don't have to struggle with paying utilities and we don't have to struggle with paying for a house, maybe we can go back to homeschooling our children. Because there's a direct correlation between foreclosures and poor educational standards. Why? Where does the school system get their funding? The school system gets their funding from property taxes. So people go have their homes go into foreclosure. There's no property taxes being paid to the property, which means there's no funds given to the teachers and no funds for the schools in general for resources. Which means in our neighborhoods where people are constantly losing their homes, there's going to be a direct correlation between those foreclosures, potholes in the streets where property taxes pay, and poor educational standards. Just from the house situation. Lack of knowledge in housing destroys us at so many different levels. Destroys us spiritually because we don't have the free time, we're over there fighting to get it. Destroys us mentally when we go through foreclosures, make us more prompt to become prisoners, or we encourage someone else's false imprisonment because they need to accommodate for that failed mortgage. And believe me, the failed mortgage is done on purpose in a matter of what they call subprimes. They purposely find people who will not be able to pay off that 30-year mortgage because the commercial bank doesn't have the capital to wait 30 years or 15 years for a modified loan. They don't have the capital for that. So they service the loans to the investment bank. And the investment bank takes all of those debt obligations in the form of a bond from the commercial bank, and then they create a corporation where people can invest in these people's debts as in the form of what they call securities, because these debts have collateral. The collateral is the house. In the event you don't pay, you take your house. But people don't invest unless they know that these bonds have been underwritten. There's an underwriting system for when they have sureties. Insurance company, for the most part, that says, look, in the event that these bonds fail or collapse, we'll take a small percentage, but we'll cure this problem, or we'll cure that bond. You say, well, who the hell has the money? If 100,000 people, a house going to foreclosure, who has the money to pay those bonds back? Who's going to volunteer themselves? What kind of business says, if this person doesn't pay you your $20,000, I'll pay it for you, but you got to give me a little profit? Say, how does that work? Because we're imprisoning people, and we're sending people off to wars, and we canceling them on the insurance for their deaths, and that's why the prisoners don't even come back inside the caskets. The caskets are just empty. They go towards all sorts of other funding and research where the funds are allocated into those mortgage-backed securities. They're making a whole monopoly of our ignorance. Because while we talk about kill the white man, our children still in their public school system, each child represents an account. Kill the white man, you wind up in prison, your prison number represents an account that is sold on the stock market. Your prison number is an account number. We say kill the white man, we getting married. And on our marriage certificate it has a CUSIP on it, a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure. It means that someone is making money. And this is why if you wanted to divorce and a couple has a house, they won't allow you to divorce if your property taxes aren't paid. So what does that have to do with your marriage? If someone is beating the hell out of you, you need to divorce. And they say, well, we understand that you're almost near death and he's going to kill you, but we'll give you the divorce once you pay your property taxes. Your death certificate has a CUSIP number on it. So that means they're making money off your death. Your birth certificate has a CUSIP number on it. That means they're making money off your life. Your relationship. That creates a life. So they monetize your life, they monetize your death, they monetize your relationship. But then people say all I do is talk about money. I don't want to fund my oppressor no more. I'm tired of us funding our oppression. We go to them as if they are a legitimized resource. And all they're doing is economically and educationally exploiting us. So it's time to free ourselves from our oppressor. That's what we're going to be talking about August 12th in New York. How to stop funding our oppression in more elaborate detail. Inform everything from the homeschool and how to get it done to encourage people to take the children out of school. You're better off teaching them even if you don't know math and science. Because if there's tons of foreclosures in your community, they have a better chance of learning from somebody who's illiterate. Because they don't have the resources that other communities that don't suffer from foreclosures, that don't have signs in their yard while they're living in the house. They have better food given to their children and way more supplies. Us, we might as well just take them out to school and take our chances with ourselves, the people that love their children. It's entirely too much. It doesn't work. And on top of it, they're making money off of each child. They get funded for just passing the child along, called the No Child Left Behind Act. Where they tell the schools, if the more people graduate, the more money we'll give you. Outside of that, the only money you're going to get is from property taxes. If you're in a community where everybody's foreclosing, you're not really getting money. The only money you can get is if you pass the children along. George Bush created the act, and we're living in it now. Children just getting diplomas, whether they meeting the criteria of the school or not. They get diplomas thinking they're smart. And the only reason they're getting it is because the schools need funding. It's just like I said in the previous lecture, if you have the legal aid that's supposed to represent you, he gets an extra $500 if you say you're guilty. If the doctor cuts your stomach open, C-section, they get an extra $1,000 for undergoing an unnatural birth. What do they get for a natural birth? Nothing. So what are you encouraging someone to do if they fall behind their bills? To cut everybody's stomach open. Like, yo, my house about to be in foreclosure. I'm putting this knife to work. End of the week, I'll be good. I get $1,000 every woman I tell, oh, now the feet is facing the wall. Let me just cut it open. The legal aid, he about to lose his car. He financed the agreement. Yo, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to convince everybody it's better off you take the plea agreement. The legal aid gets an extra $500 if you plead guilty. How much money does he get? If you're innocent, nothing. So what are you subtly doing? You're encouraging people to do the wrong thing. You're paying them to do the wrong thing. Parents give their children more money when they get a good report card, not a bad one. We don't say, hey, you got a bunch of D's. Here's $2,000. So go out there and get you something nice. That would be insane. We have to understand, when we're looking at these scriptures, it's alright to look at any tone for guidance. Fine. It's alright. But also understand the relevancy of the day and time in which you live so you can progress. Don't suspend all your mind in something that has transpired thousands of years ago. And the point that we definitely got to make is several, actually. According to these people, the Torah, God gave the message from the mountains. God had a word. Hashem, Yahuwah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, however you want to call it. He had a message. But there's a group of guys at the bottom of the mountain saying, look, we're going to break it down. God already broke it down. But there's a group of dudes saying, like, we know how to break down so people really understand it. So you wind up with the Torah. But then you wind up with what? A Talmud, a Mishnah, a Zohar. You go over here to the Holy Bible. And with this Holy Bible, you have what they call the epistles. And the epistles is what? Letters. It means letters and letters. So you have God's word, and somebody says, yo, let's put the remix in there. Let's throw some of the man's word inside of God's word. So people read epistles. Epistles means letters. So many of us call the whole book God's word. But there's epistles in there. And then Jesus is supposed to be the flyest one. But he don't even have the most books. Paul got more books than Jesus. And you ask the average Christian about anything, they'll tell you about Paul. And I'm over here trying to read the red writing, and they're telling me about Paul's 14 different books. And on top of that, the epistles or the letters. That's how I'm just trying to get to God's word. Because I've been here when I was dealing with the Torah. But that's not enough. We're going to go to the Quran. And I'm just trying to read the Quran, and everybody, what about Hadith? What about Sunnah? And even the Quran says the best Sunnah. But I got to read about traditions and stories from it. And I get condemned if I only want to deal with that book right there. Man steps in each of these three books and comes up with something that winds up putting us in conflict with each other. It happens all the time. It happens all of the time. But that's not it. Let's start from the beginning again. You got the Torah, right? It's written in the original language, ancient Hebrew, but guess what happens? You have a group of Jews that say, you know what? They call Mezerites. You had a group of people called the Mezerites. And they came up with what is called the Masoretic text. The Masoretic text created a dot system and changed the frequency of the words, changed the ideographic and pictographic meaning of the words, and took away from the interpretation of the text. And along with that came a group of codes and the way that they would convey the message to man, because they felt that they truly were the ones that understood it. And now the Torah today is written written under the auspice of a Masoretic text for the Mezerites. And the Masoretic text comes from the root word in Hebrew, Masorah, which means what? Tradition. So they created their own tradition around a book that's supposed to be God's own. Masorah. So this is corrupted because of the Masoretic text. Man steps in and says, it's not enough we're going to write a Talmud and Mishnah to mess things up. We also going to change the way it's read, and people going to have to learn our system to understand it. Not God's system, man's system. It's called the Masoretic text. We're going to go to the Holy Bible, and we're going to find, not only do we have epistles and letters and men in there, but we're going to change it to fancy Shakespearean text that people that speak English don't even understand themselves. Only a small group of people in the English-speaking community really going to be able to understand this, and they have to go to school to learn how to understand Shakespearean text. Bad enough it's translated into something that's not the original language it was in. But we're going to put it in a language that no one's really going to speak and no one's really going to understand. It's going to be put into the Shakespearean. We're going to go to El's Holy Quran, or the Quran. And not only are we not going to keep it in the same Arabic, we're going to put it in Arabic Fusha. Arabic Fusha. Classical Arabic. And Arabic that Arabic speaking people don't even understand. And they say it takes 10 years for us to learn it. 10 years. It was not written in that form of Arabic. Man decided we're going to change it so people can have to learn under our system how to understand it. The same thing happened to all three of these things. We say it's not tampered with. Yes, it is. Man decided to put it into that tongue. Man decided to put it in this tongue. Man decided to put it in this tongue. The message came from who we thought to be God, and man created Talmud, Mishnah, Zohar, and changed it into a Masoretic text. Man came through and put in epistles, letters of men, and put it into Shakespearean. Man came through and put it into Arabic Fusha, and also gave us Hadith and Sunnah, stories and traditions. Then we wondered where the conflict come in. By the time we got a hold of this, the frequency of the information has changed so many times. No one from the same group can be on the same page. Thus, they all have denominations that don't agree with each other. And then they all don't agree with each other overall. How is this going to help the black community? I'm not telling people don't read it. Read it if it helps you. But I'm saying take into consideration the relevancy of the information there doesn't help us engage in a certain part of our freedom. Not saying we can't use it to uplift us. I'm saying it doesn't help us in a certain part of our freedom. We spend entirely too much time on information that doesn't cater specifically to the condition and the time that we live in today. There's no credit card stuff in there. We don't know nothing about credit cards, modified loans, sovereignty, real estate. None of that is in there. Not saying don't read it. I'm saying appropriate your time so you can cater to the specific needs that you have today as a people. Let's go to the next one. So I wrote a tone. The black woman is God and the white man is not a devil. It's not the devil, pardon me. He can be a devil. Don't save me. The black woman is God and the white man is not the devil. Let's look at this from Genesis chapter 3 verse 1. It says what? That the devil was, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said unto woman, yeah, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. We ain't gonna go to all the religious rhetoric. What we gonna go into this key point is this. The devil was the more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. The concordance number for this one word, had made, is Asa. Asa. Okay, it's made up of the Hebrew letter Ayin, Shin, and Ha, or Hat. You have Ayin, Sin, and Hat. Asa. Now, this is the word that they use for handmade. It said the devil's the most, what? Subtle. Okay, more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Asa in Hebrew means appointed. We keep talking about the devil, keep trying to hold us back or slow us down. We get this terminology, God and devil, from the scriptures. The earliest one that we want to deal with for those people that don't want to go to Samaria and Egypt will be the Torah. We get this concept of the devil from Genesis 3:1. He makes his first appearance in the scripture. He just pops up, and he's the most subtle beast of the field. Go to the book of Revelations, he's kicked out, he's brought to earth. We don't have all that understanding in the first book of Genesis, for whatever reason. We're going to go here, since we keep talking about the devil is in our way. Based on religious context, the devil is more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God appointed. But man translates it and puts handmade, which throws off the frequency of our interpretation. What if you knew that the devil was appointed, Asa in Hebrew? What if you knew that the devil was Asa, appointed to do the job? Would you be mad at one of God's creations that's following his job? God gives somebody a job and everybody's mad at him for doing a good job? You're not supposed to be looking at this devil saying, I gotta kill the devil. That's not supposed to be your frequency. Your frequency is supposed to be, this devil represents the challenge, the stumble blocks, the blockades that every one of us are met with. And we're supposed to persevere or transcend our laziness, transcend our insecurities and our worries, and work hard and diligently until we make things manifest. If you don't make things manifest, you're dealing with man infestation. It's either manifestation or man infestation. Right now, we deal with man infestation. We graffiti our own buildings. We throw pampers out our windows. We throw garbage in front of the garbage can. Man infestation. We frustrated, we rob and we stealing from each other. You say, look, brother, sister, you can come up, and we say, man, the devil gonna take something from us. But the devil, according to scriptures, where we get this terminology from, was appointed to challenge you. He's not a force of nature that doesn't belong here. It's a force of nature that does belong here. It makes you better. And each of us vibrate and have a lower chakra that we call the devil. That encourages us to sleep when we're supposed to stay awake and do work. And you gotta fight it. And then you got those outside of you that once you start doing the right thing, something snaps in people outside of you to challenge you to do the wrong thing. Wherever people are subject to good, there's going to be people that realize they're supposed to be bad. That's how this force is. You mind your business reading a book, somebody comes over there. So what you reading that book for? Oh, you think you got the knowledge? You over there, you say, I don't eat meat no more. People that eat meat, feel like, yeah, I know you think what I'm doing is bad. You ain't even say nothing to them. It's just in their mind. You don't really know what to eat when you become vegetarian. You try to eat a little french fries. You know what oil they cook those french fries in though? Your parents will tell you was raised on pork. You know that, right? And you came out pretty good. I get told all the time. You was raised on pig head, pig feet, chitlin. Now you got all this knowledge. The only reason you smart, because that's why. I said I probably would have been smart if I didn't eat it. So we got assault. And when you do an iron, the Hebrew letter ayin represents the eye or revelation. The sin or the sheen represents consumption because it represents teeth or destruction. And then you have het, and that represents that which you know, knowledge or experience. So when we look at the ideographic or pictographic meaning of the word used to describe the devil's appointment, the word appoint has a trilateral root. It has a pictographic meaning when you go into Hebrew. And the word you come up with is revelation, destruction, and knowledge. Because through the devil's destruction, it should serve as a revelation that you learn from. This means through trial and error. Through trial and error, you should be able to take things to another level. This means you will fail. This means that in order to create, you must destroy. In order to create, you must destroy. That's what that means it represents. In order to create, you must destroy. So his appointment just represents the revelations you get after undergoing a negative experience. And we as the people have undergone some of the most negative experiences that any people on the planet Earth has been confronted with. And in light of those experiences, we were not supposed to get soft, beaten up, or downtrodden by it. It was supposed to build enough character for us so we don't wind up in a situation again. We should have got a revelation through our destruction and acquired a certain level of knowledge so we never have to be confronted with this crisis again. You understand what I'm saying? So now we're going to go on to the next one. So now, as a people, it's imperative that we undergo what we call a status correction. This is from our lessons in the New Covenant. What is the status correction? Status correction is changing one's status as a debtor to have standing as a secured party. What is a secured party? A secured party is a lender, seller, or other person in whose favor there is a security interest, including a person to whom accounts or chattel paper have been sold. When the holder's obligations issued under an indenture of trust, equipment, trust agreement, or the likes are represented by a trustee or other person, the representative is the secured party. Can a debtor own property? A debtor can only conditionally own property because according to the law that governs secure transactions, UCC 9-105D, a debtor is one who is obligated on an account chattel property or general intangible, even if he owns or has rights in the collateral. What does all this mean? First and foremost, we have what you call unalienable rights and inalienable rights. Unalienable rights are God-given rights. Inalienable rights are the privileges that man gives to man or woman. We have been living in a state of inalienable rights for far too long. And we deviated from the natural, the organic, God-given or law-given rights. Rights to travel, right to own. You have the right to own. You don't have to be in debt to own. That is an inalienable privilege. The right of debt to get an asset. That's an inalienable privilege. A God-given right is the right to ownership from coming in and then to lose it per security agreement. Meaning when you put up your property for collateral in the event that you don't fulfill the mandate of a specific agreement. Under those conditions, you can become a debtor naturally. Or you use your property as a form of dowry. And in the event there's a divide amongst the man and the woman, you give up or you surrender the property. And she becomes the legal tenant or the actual owner. That's an unalienable right to engage in an indenture that is secured by real estate in the form of a trust, a sovereign irrevocable private trust, which we all use and engage in New Covenant. Living in a world where you have to accept debt in order to get an asset is not the way of a sovereign people. And should a sovereign people have to engage in any form of debt, we should have the right, as God's children or organic living souls, to not have to succumb to the same constraints as the conventional citizen. So we need a status correction. By virtue of people's status, there's monies and grants out there that cater to their status. By virtue of certain people's status, their opportunities are more vast. It's called capacities or incapacities. Some of us are granted certain capacities in light of the fact that our status demands or deems that reality to be actual truth. We are sovereign people. Sovereign people are owners. Sovereign people are not limited or subjected exclusively to the constraints of debt, obligations, owing people. We have to get out of debt. You want an education, you owe $20,000. You want a house, you owe $200,000. We have to get out of that state of mind. Because it not only thrusts us into debt, it puts us in a precarious situation where we can't do more for the people that we're supposed to be paving the way for as they come into this world. So we need a status correction. And also politically, as a people, we need to be able to identify ourselves as a specific group that has specific privileges. Because the privileges, or rights, pardon me, privileges have been bestowed upon us. And until you reaffirm your character and define what are your organic living rights, you're going to be suspended in adverse treatment on account of the privileges, the inalienable privileges of man. Everybody walking with me? Meaning, there's things that, like, if somebody comes and says, it's time to go to war, we put you into the draft. The Jews have a certain capacity based on their status, religious status. They don't have to go to war. Now, they'll pull you and say, you got to go to war. You say, why? What you going to do? Just put on a religious hat and say, because I'm down with this religion? It's not that easy. People have to duly confirm what their status is. Legally, for the record. You're not asking nobody for permission now. Sovereign people don't make petitions. They make decrees. We put people on record. We're not asking for permission to be that which we already are. But a group of us have to have the same definition for who and what we are. We cannot assume an identity because of a coercion. We can't, on account to a certain consequence or a certain implication, now decide who and what I am. We have to rectify those issues now before we engage in any type of legal battle. There are no rights for black people. A black man gets killed and the black community doesn't really know how to respond. Because the black community is in an actual group of people in a state of communion or found a common union. There has to be a specific ideology that we all subscribe to, socially, politically, and educationally. Homosexuals have done this. Jews have done this. And in turn, they get the respect and identified as a race before black people that actually are a race. Homosexuals have become a race because they have gone through the right tunnels and the right outlets to confirm their character, the rights that people have and don't have against them and for them. And these are all commercial claims. Because they don't pass laws no more, they pass bills. And a bill is an act when it's passed, and it comes in the form of statute or code. And that's why you get locked up. All they do is talk about statutes and codes. And statutes and codes correspond with corporations. I see something you're writing, so I'll put it back on that slide towards the end. He'll say, Brother Polite, you're petitioning to be... Nope. We're putting it on the record so everybody knows. After we do a bunch of different filings, how many people knew Covenant in here? Alright, that's cool. Any of you started engaging in your status correction yet?
Yeah.
Alright, that's good. So they know what I'm talking about. You can talk to the people that raise their hand. Y'all can raise your hand if you're undergoing your status correction. Alright, cool. So if you see them, if we tied up towards it, you can also talk to them. I know he's definitely deep. He's deep enough into a status correction where he was able to get the property under sovereign status. Okay? The brother that we had stand up earlier that went out to Florida with us to buy property, he was able to get it because of the correction in status, because of the rights that we have as sovereign people to own. A lot of the surcharges, which they don't call them, a lot of the charges are the interest, that's what they call it, interest, right? Which they really have a conditional interest. A lot of the interest that is compounded on the agreements when you buy a house has to do with the fact that you're a 14th Amendment citizen. How do we know this to be fact? Because when we change our status, we get properties for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 cheaper when we correct our status. If you are identified as a 14th Amendment citizen who has their inception in slavery, you don't have no rights or privileges. Read Jewish law. Most of society is under the construct of Judaism. Everything from the way the court is set up to just simple traffic infractions and the likes, and the way they dispose of you is based on Judaism. And according to Judaism, a Gentile doesn't have the right to ownership. According to Judaism, if a Gentile is facing a Hebrew or original man or a Jew in court, the Gentile should lose by default and incur more debt than the very one that he's going against, even if the Gentile is the victim. So this means the Goy or the Gentile, the person who doesn't subscribe to Jewish faith, has no rights. And that's something we got to change. They say we have no rights. And if you do, let us know, because everything is based on assumption. Assumption means presumption of law. Everything is presumed until you make the correction. One of the other things that we do is put things on record, like when you do Covenant, when you join our community, you get a caseworker that walks you through the process of anything you're trying to do in terms of engaging in any kind of economic sovereignty. We put all our paperwork and filings on record. The person that's helping you, you type their name in on Google, and you'll see everything come up. We go to the National Public Registry. Anytime you do anything legal, you should put it here for the record. So when someone can type it in online, it's a National Public Registry. It's an active process of recording, and instruments such as a deed or mortgage, but not limited to the same in a public registry, is called recordation. The National Public Registry is an online registry in which recordings are electronically scanned and filed on the World Wide Web. All original documents are put into the mail and mailed back to you within 24 hours of receipt by their office. Additionally, you will receive a certificate of electronic recording which contains your personal file number and any certified copies that may be requested by you. I put the website down there and the address as well as their phone number for you. But you're going to need that when you're dealing with New Covenant, because you want to put everything on the record. Everything we do, everything that the Secretary of State or the Treasurer signs, anything that we get back, we put it on record. We make copies of everything we do. We send this to the state, to the Treasurer. We make copies of everything we do, and we send it to as much people as possible to have it on record. We definitely put it on the National Public Registry. A very credible source. You send them your original documents, they send it back to you. It just confirms or codifies everything that you did, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts to what you're doing. All of us do the same exact paperwork in the same exact process, the same exact way, and we do all our recordings in the same fashion. So that way, if we ever come up with an instance where somebody doesn't qualify, we need to know why, because we use all of these as case studies. So if 100 or 200 people did things in similar fashion or exact fashion, there's no reason why the 201st person should have a problem. That's why we go through it this route, and we want everybody to know this for the record. You know, somebody dies, a black leader dies, or a black leader gets locked up like Dr. York, and then the land is taken, and nobody knows who the land belongs to, and there's all this confusion. And you just suspend the information on the National Republic Registry. Even if leaders say, look, this is my successorship, or these are the people that I want to be in place in the event something happens to me, like we have a New Covenant. In the event something happens to myself, we have information to be disclosed on the National Public Registry, that there's a list of instructions and corresponding names for people to carry out the rest of the process. So we don't have to start all over again and find out how the hell do we get properties or not evade taxes. We actually make a living paying taxes. We write our taxes off as donations, and the IRS accepts that because they understand taxation is illegal. Income tax is only supposed to be charged to people that are not even from America. When you pay it, we don't say, yo, we want our money back, we're not going to pay it no more. We write it off as a donation to get most of the money back. Why? Because we're not big enough to be talking about we ain't paying no taxes, even if it's wrong. Said people, use your sense. Don't get caught up in a non-tax fight where we know how to make enough money that those taxes are obsolete that they get from us anyway. But we do have the right to write them off as donations, as we are volunteering our services to give them. You know, so take those things into consideration. Let's go to the next one. That's the book, Can You Outthink Your Oppressor? You can learn more information about that in Can You Outthink Your Oppressor. We also have here, buy the house, sign the contract, protect the asset, no mortgage, no protest, no jurisdiction. Of course, this book is self-explanatory. Buy the house, sign the contract, protect the asset. No mortgage, no protest, no jurisdiction. Teach you how to sign the right way, the right codes and filings. The same thing that I got my brother going through who just bought his property out there in Florida with me. And again, we make sure that we there with you when you get the properties, whether using it to live in or using it for monetary purpose or value. And then we also have the Trust Me Token. Go back, baby. We also have the Trust Me Token. Okay, which shows you how to start generating your own contracts, give you an overview of it. But as New Covenant members, we have a statute staple of the deficients of the statute staple and statute merchant. That's for the members exclusively to expound on the information that's in the Trust Me. The Trust Me book is the epitome for that information, because we have to get back to the point of creating our own contracts, because the ones that we're signing, we believe that we only have to sign contracts upon purchasing the property. No, by law, you can have a contract too that the seller has to sign as well. So you don't get caught up in the nuances, the real estate nuances, or the idiosyncrasies, I should say, that comes with buying properties, and later on they're talking about taking your property. They by law have to sign a contract, if you have one, that is, in due form. So it's good to take this information into consideration. We can't keep going into agreements and then calling people devils because we're uneducated in the matter. Let's let them actually do the wrong thing for a change. There's a game out here, and we haven't learned how to play it, and unfortunately that's being used to our disadvantage. Alright, so we go to the next one. This is something you definitely want to write down. You'll see it later on in other classes, especially considering if you're in the community or you're just keeping up with the classes or the books. 12 USC without recourse. That's one of the self-made stamps that we create or have in our community when we're signing for properties or buying cars and things of that nature. You want to have 12 USC without recourse. It's an authorized redemption of everything to be redeemed to the Secretary of Treasury. This is your relief and your recourse. Whenever you're buying anything, you want to have that just below your name, your appellation. We don't want to say name. You want to have that just below your appellation. 12 USC without recourse. If you ever try to purchase a garment or a car or something of that effect, you normally see MSRP or something like that. Manufacturers suggested retail price. They can't actually put a price there because the money isn't backed by nothing. The money isn't backed by gold and silver. Back in the day, the money was called the silver certificate or gold certificate. You could turn your $10 into the bank and get the amount due in silver or gold. Today it's a note. A note represents a debt obligation. The money isn't backed by nothing legitimate. Therefore, they can't come up with an actual price with things. They only can suggest how much notes you're willing to give as a donation, in light of the fact that they have no more money. You want to protect yourself from any infringement upon you buying a property or buying a car, and then someone comes up with some slick stuff in the contract and says this is our property. You didn't use real money, so how could they ask you to fulfill the debt? Or they ask you to print money? That would be against the law. The only way you can make money is to print it, and you are not allowed to print money on your own accord. Secondly, they're asking you to engage in the fiduciary responsibility of the treasurer. You are acting as an unofficial accountant when you file taxes. When I tell you don't pay your taxes, we're saying you're acting as an unofficial accountant for the IRS. They are bestowing upon you a fiduciary responsibility that the treasurer has been entrusted. That is not your responsibility to keep the receipts for a company, a foreign corporation that owes money. So, of course, we'll have to go into that at a later time to make sure that we don't go overtime today, but just take that into consideration and do the research. When you do your trust, you are identified as a secure party. Your trust is what you're going to retitle all your assets to. Most trusts by law are legal. It said that it exists on the waters. The trust that you will set up before you buy property is called a sovereign, irrevocable, private trust. You learn that in the trust people. It's called the sovereign, irrevocable, private trust. It's protected by Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. That simply means no third party has the right to make a legal determination about a private agreement you make, so long as it's in contract form and is in legal or due form. For instance, we file a UCC 1, you wind up getting a filing number, so this punctuates the reality that you have a formal agreement with somebody. The process of liens. One way we use it, and as far as how we marry amongst ourselves, we turn our relationship commitment into an oath that is punctuated by business in the form of our trust. Why? Because, let's do it like this. We treat our business like a marriage. So the preference is to work with your wife, particularly though you can do these trusts without a wife or without a husband. Should you have a wife and you have business, you establish what we call a transposition lien methodology in New Covenant. It's a reverse lien that's used on the woman to the man to the woman. But the point in case being, this private agreement that the man and the woman go into represents their wedding or their marriage contract. But in actuality, it's your business. Why? Because no one has the right by law to tell a man or tell a woman how to run their relationship. So we turn our business into marriage. And now we're protected. We protect our assets. Our stuff doesn't go into probate. It's a whole lot of stuff you can do with trust. It's not limited to relationship. That's one way in which you can use the trust to protect your assets. So even if someone says, look, you're behind in your mortgage payments, we gotta take this. If two brothers doing business with each other, or a man and woman particularly, are doing business with each other, just draw it up as a contract, a marriage relationship, marriage contract. What happened is first in time is first in line. If these two brothers are doing business with each other, and you establish a lien on his new house, and he in turn establishes a lien on some property of yours, and then the bank comes in and tells you, look, we about to take your property, man. Can't take it. First in time, first in line. That's law. He already has a lien. You already engaged in a debt obligation to him for that property. So the bank would just have to fall back, because before they file the lien, you have a UCC filing number that confirms, I had to give this house up to this person a long time ago. But in actuality, what you're going to do, you're not going to be the one that has your house suspended to him. You're going to take your property, and then you're going to make him the settler of the trust, and he's going to have the property there, and he's going to make you the trustee. And in turn, you have all the responsibilities over the property, yet not owned it, and there's a lien established where you have the first right to your own property. And I know it sounds weird, but it's the type of weird stuff they draw up in contracts to take our stuff from us. So it's the same weird technology that we use to protect our assets, so our children can be born with mortgage-free properties. Okay, because it's against the law what the banks are doing, because what they do, they have conditional interest, and this is the reason why this is legal. They are not telling you that they have the intent to service your loan to an investment bank. They're not telling you that they get their mortgage note and they sell it to somebody. They have you under pretense it's just you and it's just them, until you deal with the foreclosure process and they send you to another party, and that party sends you to another party, and that party sends you to another party. Anybody that's ever dealt with the foreclosure process can tell you if they tried to fight it, it got confusing as to who was the one that was the holder in due course, or the one that was the holder of the mortgage note. This is what helps solidify the deal. As a secure party, in consideration for secure party provided certain things and accommodations for debtor, including but not limited to the secure party signing by accommodation without immediate consideration for the debtor when necessary, where the signature of the debtor will be required, while retaining the right to make sufficient claims to secure such indebtedness until satisfied and whole. This is an extract from one of the trusts that are created for a member in the community, with some of the provisions, circumstances, and just pretty much outlining some of the responsibilities of the secured party in retrospect to the debtor. The secured party issuing a binding commitment to extend credit or to extend immediately available credit, whether or not drawn upon or whether or not reimbursed in the event of difficulties in collection. When you set up your trust and you retitle your property to the trust, it can be websites, it can be books, it could be actually real estate. What happens is your trust winds up having a certain level of equity or actual value. And your trust can empower you as a secured party to establish a credit line where someone can borrow based on the equity or the value of your actual trust, based on the assignments or the designations, when you retitle your assets in due form. And of course that goes through a process where we will have an IPH, intellectual property holders, an escrow agent, and things of that nature, CPA. We walk you through the process so you can get the job done. But this empowers you to be able to create a credit line that can be used at your discretion or to be lended off to somebody else for the benefit of you receiving interest. This is what it is to be a secured party creditor. Okay? You don't have to always be the one not picking up your phone because somebody is calling you about something you owe. You are now taking the power into your own hands to become the secured party creditor. Okay? The secured party providing security for payment of all sums due or owing, or to become due or owing by the debtor on every public contract entered by the debtor. Debtor declares it is a legal entity, recognized as such, and has rights and privileges recognized under the laws of the United States, has been the case since its creation in 1984. That was a particular person that was debtor. All legal legal means to protect the security interests being established by this agreement will be used by the debtor when necessary, and all support needed by the secured party to protect her security interests in the collateral identified herein will be provided by the debtor. All right. So we go on to the next one. That's just an idea of some of the descriptions of what takes place in the trust, as you are outlined who is the settler and who's the trustee. And what happens is, with the transposition lien methodology, one is identified as a secured party creditor, one is identified as a debtor, and one establishes a lien on one party, and then in turn, the same type of lien is established in reverse. And in doing so, you're able to secure and protect your assets from being seized, as well as you're able to create a credit line based on the assignments or the retitling that you do to your private trust. Private trust functions kind of different in certain ways in contrast to the public trust. But when we say private, it doesn't mean that you're writing stuff on paper and nobody in the world knows about it. You'll have filing numbers that any other creditor will go online and look up and see that everything you did was done professionally and legally. Go to the next one, Vic. We talk about properties as we get ready to close up. Just wanted to put this out there because somebody asked me a question prior to class, asked me to go over it. They said they was having problems getting the tax list for the properties that they sell, not for the price equal due in fair market value, but for the price equal due in back taxes. Meaning they have a $200,000 house for starting at a sale of $900 based on what's due in property taxes, because the county government cannot be in competition with the people. And they have 33 million houses on the market plus that are not being used, and the county government's purpose and intent and sole endeavor, as the purpose of the reason why it's erected, is to allocate property taxes into schools, into the fire department, into the police, into the roads, the pavement, to keep the roads smooth and things of that nature. All they care about is the property taxes so they can build and sustain and maintain infrastructure. So they sell the properties for the price starting at what is due in back taxes, not the price equal to and the fair market value, the actual retail price of the property. So you'll have a $200,000 price, $200,000 fair market value for a house, and the property is started at like $900, sometimes even less, sometimes a little bit more. And at the end, that $200,000 house might sell for $8,000 or $10,000, and you don't even have to put the $10,000 down. They have a non-qualifying financing program where you can just put $1,000 down and finance the rest of the statement on 10% of the amount, which will make $1,000 every year for 10 years. And by that time, you could already took out the equity on that property, bought you a Subways or a Metro PCS if you're savvy enough to get it done, or took out the equity on the property and invested in some other business venture, took out the equity on the property just to pay back the government from the county government, have that done, rent it out, I got a house next to my pops that now the deeds transferred over and the government is giving him the monies to fund the prisoners. It's like it's a halfway house. So that property over there, you can rent out the house and get the monies for the elderly, because they're running out of money for elderly homes, or the homes for older folks. So what's happening is they're turning domestications into the old folks' homes now. And you can get the monies for that. And that's guaranteed money. You ain't got to worry about someone saying, yo, I was clubbing last night, blew too much money at the bar, you feel me, I don't have the money for rent. You don't have to worry about that with the government. Alright? So there's different things that you can do when you get a property, but the fact is this. If you're getting a $150,000 property for only $8,000 or $10,000, and all you have to do is put $1,000 down or $2,000 in, why not? So you don't have to deal with the burden of paying these devils not only the principal, but then their interest or their late fees. And then when you pay the exact amount at the right time, your credit score goes down. Whenever you engage in a mortgage, you have to pay it 1/3 of the time or half of the time so your credit score can go up. If you pay it on time or later, you actually get more default for paying it on time than you do paying it later. You never pay a loan exactly on time. You're supposed to go into that loan with the intent to pay it 1/3 of the time or half of the time to get the credit on your report to go up higher. But people say, yo, sometimes I'm trying to get the tax list and I'm having problems getting the tax list. Well, you also can purchase past due utility liens. These past due utility liens correspond with the properties that are on the market that start off with a price and past due taxes. So what you do, if you purchase a $150 utility lien, they'll give you the list for all the properties that correspond with the utility liens, which is the same exact list as the properties that are past due in taxes that they sell at the tax deed auction or the tax lien auctions. So that is something you can use to your advantage. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have problems getting the tax list, rather than pay for a tax list and that's it, buy a utility lien, get your profit from the utility lien, and get the information as it corresponds with the actual properties that they sell for dirt cheap with no mortgage. You buy it with no mortgage. Alright, you can't lose with that. Let's go to the next one. So that's just to make sure I answer the brother question. And of course, a lot of this other information is held in high regard from the Stocks and Blonde Stone. Stocks and Blonde is a corridor to economic freedom. And can you outthink your oppressor by myself, the suit, Amun Race, and the Tumre. And on the last note, again, as a secured party creditor, you want to keep in mind that one should stand in your unlimited commercial liability as a secured party creditor and request that officers of the court do the same. Respectfully, request the indulgence of the court, as I'm not schooled in the law. This is provided by the President, set by Haynes versus Kerner at 44 U.S. 519. The reason why we're saying this is going to begin. Stand in your unlimited commercial liability as a secured party creditor and request that officers of the court do the same. Many of us that are in conflict have to go to court for a number of things. Always hold in high regard and keep in mind that you have to stand in your unlimited commercial liability as a secured party creditor. Of course, that's given that you got your status correction. Stand in your limited commercial liability as a secured party creditor and request that officers of the court do the same. Respectfully request the indulgence of the court. As you would say, I'm not schooled in the law. This is provided by the President, said by Haynes versus Kerner. This is case law at 44 U.S. 519. So sometimes you might be defending yourself, and they actually, by law, they'll tell you, oh, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. That's true. They'll tell you, we don't have to help you once you decide that you gotta defend yourself. But that's not entirely true. According to Haynes versus Kerner, they still have to help you even when you're doing your thing. So if they say, hey, you slip, you say, okay, thanks for letting me know. When we adjourn this case, we come back. I'm gonna have it right next time around. That's according to case law. So don't let them fool you. All right, let's go to the next one. And again, representing the New Covenant community. If you're interested in joining the New Covenant community, you can come up, speak to Sister Aminette, or you can speak to Sister Riot, and they'll take your number, or they'll tell you how you can join. You gotta join today, you can join online. To get your status correction, so we as a group of people identify ourselves as one. We can't do the, I'm black and I got rights, damn it. We can't do that, because black people don't have no specific rights. Homosexuals have specific rights. If you hit them versus just a straight black man, you got a better chance getting out of the situation and hitting a straight black man, because the homosexual has given the capacities and incapacities that they have. What you have the right to do and what you don't have the right to do. As a group of black people in like mind and living in one accord, we have to take into consideration, we have to define what is our legal disposition. A legal disposition is status. You have to define what is your status and have a group of people that identify with that same status, and that is the epitome for having some kind of weight and relieving the burdens of just being the conventional Negro out on the streets when something bad happens to you and the black community is in an uproar and waiting for someone to march, and after that it might be in the media and that's it, if you even get media publicity. We got to do it the right way. We got to stop playing street ball when it comes to our liberation. We have to play professional ball. We have to really size things up and say, what's going wrong with us? A group of us are not specifically organized. A group of us haven't put on record to reaffirm our character and say, these are our capacities and these are our incapacities. This is what we disagree with and this is what we agree with. Because like I said, everything is based on assumption. And assumption is presumption of law. It is presumed that you are okay with every incapacity that you have until you say otherwise. That's the purpose of uniting and organizing on one accord to build the esteem and the momentum that a true nation of people need in order to persevere and move on into the future. And as well, status doesn't grant you just fancy paperwork. It grants you certain rights, not privileges, rights bestowed upon you by your creator, which empowers you when you decide to engage in any kind of commercial agreement, that provisions and accommodations have to be made for you specially, because you are no longer owned by a corporation or the state. You are now qualifying yourself as an organic living soul. You qualify yourself as an organic living soul, a child of the Creator. Therefore, you do not have the same constraints as the people that have put their life into the hands of man. You have to do this legally. We're not asking nobody for permission. This is something you do legally to free yourself from the burdens and the constraints of just being a citizen. Everybody understands what I'm saying? All right, so again, are there any questions before I close out? Go ahead, sister. Let me get you, brother. Try to talk loud.
Not questioning intellect or anything, but I'm curious to know how did you learn so much?
Somebody relayed. I don't know what she said. Somebody relayed.
I don't know how you learned so much.
Oh man, that's a slightly long story. I'll tell you. I raised the frequency of my water with a quartz crystal bowl. I'll tell you that. I do a lot of chanting. I chant specific tones. Clay and iron to expand my corpus callosum. And also because of tonal languages, when you speak tonal languages, I speak 7 different languages. When you speak tonal languages, it helps expand the brain. Okay, you have what they call the SPM gene, which is an example of a gene that is responsive to tonation. And when you speak in tonal languages, it causes brain growth. When you speak in de-emphasized languages, it causes the brain to shrink. So speaking in multiple languages also gives you an expansion of consciousness. For instance, when you look at it, like let's go into Arabic, right? When you go into Arabic, you have the kaf sound, which is a K, but then you also have kaf, right? And that comes from the back of the throat. Like instead of saying Quran, like Quran, that's an English rendition. It'd be Quran. You know, like it sounds like you spitting a piece of paper out. It'd be on, right? That's how the Q really sounds. If you come into English, the representation for Q sounds like K, because the Q has been de-emphasized. If you look at the word Michael, the C and the H sounds like a K. It's supposed to sound like as in Mikhail, right? But the CH has been de-emphasized. If you look at the word light, like polite, the GH is supposed to be a guttural sound that's produced by the constricting of the throat. So the light would be, it should be lonked. It should be lonked. That's how light should sound. Lonked, right? But we don't even know how to use those kind of tones no more. And what happens is, you have organs in your body, like the appendix, and you also have the tonsils. The appendix and the tonsils have a correspondence with people that speak in tonal languages. They vibrate. The appendix and the tonsils are set and activated when a person is speaking in tonal languages, and that vibration all sets another chain of vibration through the bones. Because the way that people hear is through what they call bone conduction. The way that you hear is through your bones. People say your ears, but to be more specific, you hear through your bones. Like the middle ear has what's made up of what? Incus, malleus, and stapes. These are tiny bones that when the frequencies collide, the bones shake. And when the bones shake, the liquid in the inner ear has hairs on it. And when the waves are created from the vibration of the bones, the hairs that are suspended in the liquid sway, and thus a neurological message is sent, because the hair works as an antennas. But it's called bone conduction. And that's why women that have osteoporosis or brittle bones, one of the first things they start to lose is their hearing. Because when the bones get brittle, it's harder for you to hear. because sound has to vibrate off of the skeleton for the message to be conveyed. It's called bone conduction loss, right? So it's called bone conduction. That's how we hear through bones, all right? So when you speak in tonal languages, the appendix and the tonsils vibrate in such a way, and a nerve by the wisdom tooth, which is where you get wires from, that causes neurons to be created, and the neurons connect with each other and create what's called dendrites. And the dendrites, as an end result of neurons being connected, sews the brain together and causes one to be a whole brain thinker, thereby making them a genius. What does it mean? When you went to school, you had science, math, reading, and language. That's the left side of the brain. The left side of the brain is science, math, and reading. The right side of the brain is emotions, music, love, art, and what school is supposed to do is cater to both those dynamics to sew your brain together so you can be a whole brain thinker. But instead, when you go to music, it's mostly writing and you learn definitions. And if you touch the instrument, you might get yelled at. And when you go to gym, it's called free time if you actually get to exercise. And when you go to art class, they spend more time teaching you about artists than you actually really get to learn the craft of art. So the emphasis is on the left side, and that's why the second a person actually starts writing rhymes, they're overwhelmed because they never got a chance to express themselves, and they can't help it. Or people get to play basketball finally, and they're overwhelmed because they spend more time exercising the left brain, they're exhausted. So once they start playing ball, or once they start rapping, there's no looking back. So you find that since the left side deals with, like, let's say for instance, reading and writing and words, right? And then the left side deals with words, and the right side deals with emotion. Sometimes people say, what? No words can express how I feel, right? Because they haven't made a connection between the left brain and the right brain. When you speak in tonal languages, it causes the neurons to connect with other neurons from one side of the brain to the next, and then dendrites will form, which is like the yarn for soul. And when the closer knitted the brain is, the more expanded one's conscious becomes. And thus, it's easier to engage in information and remember information. So just by virtue of the fact of speaking multiple languages, and the languages being tonal languages, it causes neurons to be created. And it makes your comprehension and your receptivity to new information a whole lot easier. Let me get this, brother. I'm going to go back to you.
Oh, brother, thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome, my brother.
I do have a question though, about sovereignty, and
Yes.
I know you need to study to get more information. But could that work as an S corporation also?
Say it again?
An S-class corporation?
Yes.
Set it up that way and have that managed through your trust?
Well,
If you're governing both? I'm just asking. Can you repeat the question on the microphone?
yes. Can we use an S-class corporation and integrate it with the trust?
Yes, and integrate that with the trust as versus the sovereignty.
You could take what an S-class corporation is predicated upon and use that auspice into the trust, but not the dynamics of the S-class corporation, because the third party is more in control of the corporation than the actual people that erected it, which would be the government. You want to free them from control because that's the way they're able to pry in and take your assets from you without little reason or rationale. So you can take the color and the tone of the actual S-class corporation and formulate it the same way and actually activate the trust under that pretense. The trust can function as an S-class
Yes.
corporation, a private trust.
Having the private, the
Yes.
S-class managing that,
Yes,
those trusts.
yes. Minus the actual term S-class,
Yes.
we can use the same precepts for the S-class corporation and function through the trust with that as a medium.
Thank you, brother.
No problem. Go ahead, my brother.
Which languages do you speak?
You have Arabic Fusa, ancient Hebrew. You have Igbo, the Patik, English, and the Delta. And, you know. Go ahead. Yes.
Now, I would like to know
possible, so long as people have the patience. However, I have trained people in the community to be as proficient as I am, so they can give the same, be as a credible resource to the people as I am. However, I do make myself pretty accessible to people, only because I travel so much that I wouldn't possibly be able to do it in as real time all the time. But people need to touch base with me, which is why we have caseworkers in the community, so they can attend to the needs of the people in terms of joining the community. And like I said, everybody that's a caseworker, they've been trained by me directly, and they've been drilled. They know the information inside out, depending on what it is. Like we have our mortgage specialist. He's amazing. We have our caseworker, our head caseworker being LaJuan Albert. He deals with status correction. I'm pretty sure he's their caseworker. It's the people that raise their hand. Very, very proficient, very, very astute. So all these people, when you need to contact me as a member of the community, there's a direct line. And if it suffices, they say, look, you have to talk to them directly. This will be the date. Because I always make the appointment with people directly. Well, the only problem is I might have to put it off 2 days later or 3 days later because of the schedule. Yes. Well, the credit unions, question about the credit unions in respect to the banks and the mortgage crisis. The credit unions initially were separate and different, and in fact they were erected to get away from, the credit unions were erected to get away from the underhanded tactics of the banks initially. Well, as capitalism would have it, the credit unions start sticking their fingers in and also confining to some of the illegal tactics of the banks. However, the original consensus of a credit union will have the ordinance of one that tries to make better adjustments and accommodations for people that are investing their money and things of that nature. And for instance, the best thing we can do as a people is get 3,000 to 5,000 of us with like-its income to qualify for us to have our own type of bank in the form of a credit union. And then we set up our own constraint, separate and different from the other credit unions and banking system. That's actually what communities do when they're tired of the high interest rates, or tired of not being able to be approved for loans because of the redlining criteria of credit card companies. They create their own, which is why when you go into communities, you find that they have banks named after their community. Or you see things, you say, wow, look at these people, they have their own stuff, I never saw this nowhere. Or they have what they call the credit union. That is trademarked after whatever it is that they believe in, or normally named after their community. And they have set up circumstances in such a way that it appeals to the people that helped erect it in the first place. So that's the best direction we can go in as a people. And we don't like the underhanded behavior of the banking system, and understanding that the credit unions are now having a subtle inclination towards the same debauchery. What we should do as a people is see to it that we erect our own credit union, which doesn't really take a lot of money. It just takes organization. It takes 3,000 to 5,000 people around the same income, or from the same class, or the same nationality, or have the same status correction. And once you get them, all you need is a third of them to actually deposit their money into it. You don't have to actually have a bank. You can start off with your transactions just being exclusive to online. Okay? And then in turn, later, you can turn around and say, have choice ATMs where people can pull their money out. But the purpose of the credit union is to make sure that you can grant your people lower interest rates, and they qualify by way of the fact, like for instance, some credit unions will say, you can't join us unless we know that you're a member of our food court, or you can't join us unless we know you're a member of New Covenant. There's normally some kind of criteria where they know that you are patronizing one of their exponents or one of their pillars. So in turn, not only are you saving your money with them and reaping the benefits, they know that that money is also being funneled in a different medium or venue that ultimately affects them and helps them. You see what I'm saying? So the credit union is a magnificent task that we should take on as a people, as it is not old, but it will be newly found to us. Because, I mean, we don't even, if a black person came out with a fruit vegetable stand, we'll think the fruit's a suspect, we used to Koreans always have it. You know, so when it comes to money, we're going to be even more reluctant. Now I understand that the technicalities behind a credit union is more sophisticated than someone just taking your money and misappropriating. And it's a whole lot better than entrusting these commercial banks. Go ahead, my brother. I'll come assist. All right. In terms of joining the new covenant community, I'm gonna get that last question over there by the elder. All right, 2 more questions. I'll be with you towards the end because I got 5 minutes left. And my voice is gonna get hoarse because this is not exactly one of the strongest mics I've ever spoken on. So I'm feeling it. The benefits of the new covenant community primarily, but we don't exactly want people to come in for the get out of jail free card. That's not what we push and promote. There's other organizations that will sell you that. What we push is sovereignty, having our rights restored to us in the fullest capacity possible, given the circumstances of the day and time that we live in. Organization, so if something happens to one of us, all of us as a body respond. A network of land. Every time someone buys land or someone buys houses, though it's theirs individually, we tie it into a network. So the sun can rain on New Covenant every day on both sides of the equator. Much like Britain, they say the sun shines on Britain everywhere you go, because Britain has colonized all over the place. Britain hasn't limited themselves to land in one specific place. They've colonized on both sides of the prime meridian, both sides of the equator. Therefore, they have power and influence everywhere all over the world in a place where their people can mass exodus, make a mass exodus. Likewise, we network all of our properties together while you maintain your own individual right of ownership. Never to be cheated out of it, as well as making sure when you engage, let's say you're not used to purchasing houses and selling them back. Let's say you're not used to purchasing timeshares and knowing how to monetize your ownership. Or let's say you buy some land and you want to make sure that you get the best benefits from it, tax benefits and real estate benefits. Whether you want to rent it out to lease it, or you want to use it yourself and you want to find effective mediums to get the monies there to build infrastructure. We have caseworkers that are assigned to you from the time you join a new covenant that holds your hand through the whole process to see to it that you get where you have to go. That's one of the major benefits of the new covenant. Politically, you reaffirm your status so you're not treated in the same capacity as citizens are, which is a lowly status in terms of you dealing with legal matters. Whether they're legal problems or just commercial transactions, you'll be able to reap the benefits that sovereign people have. There are sovereign benefits for buying property, sovereign benefits for buying land, sovereign benefits for buying houses, sovereign benefits for buying timeshares that citizens do not get. Citizens get the whole $300,000. Sovereign people get to pay just $10-15 for the $300,000 fair market value. Okay, so it has a monetary effect, a social, a political effect as well. So those are some of the benefits when you join a new covenant. Not only are you reaffirming who and what you are and redefining your character and reestablishing who and what you are and what you disagree with, you're also having you're redefining your lineage, you're redefining your political status, so you're not treated in the same capacity that the average brother or sister is treated in with something when someone's infringing on their rights. And as I said, you get the real estate and you get the tax benefits. Don't forget, this DVD will be ready at the end of class. I want to remind you about that as well. It'll be ready at the end of class. And roses grow from concrete. Someone relate a message that the elders telling me?
I really appreciate you talking about we as adults passing on the wealth to the coming generation.
Thank you.
I'm in such a quandary right now because my house burned down January. And February I started living in my deceased mother's house, which leaves a roof and a lot of other corrections. And I'm in like a real quandary because I don't have any money. The rebuild my house, I'm gonna have to try and get a loan.
Yeah, I understand that.
Which I might not be able to get because I ain't got no credit. You know, I don't think I have bad credit except for a student loan. You know, but
so let's do it like this.
You said something about you have a mortgage specialist?
Yes, that's what I'm about to say. I will assign a mortgage specialist to you. Talk to Sister Raed. Talk to Sister Raed. What I'll do on the strength, we'll have you as an honorary New Covenant member. Okay, that's the pretense in which the specialist works. And I will talk to him and we'll make something happen.
Okay. So I really need some guidance and advice.
Nah, we're gonna make it happen. I appreciate you being in your age and your strength, even listening to me as young as I am. It's powerful. It makes me feel real confident that I have your attention. So we're gonna be on that like in real time, like today.
I had one of your DVDs from here that got burned up.
Oh man, well we're gonna get plenty more. Just come see us and we're gonna look out for you, sister.
Okay.
I really appreciate you listening to me. Thanks a lot. Let's get that brother there, and then we get the sister, and then we gotta close up.
I just wanted to ask you, how long has New Covenant been established? Like, when did you establish it?
How long has New Covenant been established?
Yeah, and then also, how many members do you have right now?
So it's April 1st of 83. April 1st of 83. But as they would say, going viral, you'll give us the last 2 years going real hard.
Okay, now,
But you have to go into our lessons for that.
all right, how many members do you have right now?
Members, last I checked, as far as the last, since the last 2 months, about 250 in the last 2 months. The whole number, I don't have it. Everything's been broken off into jurisdictions and the newest numbers. I know the last 2 months is 200 plus new members. I'm not too sure the actual number right now offhand. Okay, sister, there you go.
They tell you that they're going to lower your taxes, your real estate taxes.
Understood.
What do you have to say about that? This is the form that they want us to fill in everything. And they you're going to get maybe lower.
I would have to see the form because a lot of times there's so many loopholes in those forms. Even like the modified loans, you have people paying modified loans and then in 3-4 months someone's saying that you haven't been paying. There's
You also put a number on it.
yeah, so I would have to see it directly so I can discern if it seems legitimized or not. But like I tell people all the time, as far as New Covenant is concerned, when people are trying to engage in a certain tax benefit, or people say, you know what, I don't want to have to pay these taxes. I say there's so many realistic monetary opportunities that we have now that saving some money on taxes is the least of your worries because of the amount of opportunity there is to engage in making money. You know, so it's a matter of just the means justify the extremes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it suffices to take on another fight than the one that's before you, because one may overexert more energy than necessary, and the other one may have more abundance granted to you. So it's a matter of just appropriating.
I mean, it's an extension from where they have moved black folks out.
Yeah.
White folks are taking this property now.
Yes.
Up in the mortgage, I mean, you know.
Yeah, making it difficult.
St. Joe, Gerard Avenue is going to be the new St. Joe.
Yes.
I'm not, they may not know it, but that's what it's going to be.
Yes.
Those brownstones down there, you want to rent a property in there, you want to condominiums.
Crazy money.
Come on now.
Crazy money.
So the fact